All right, so I thought I'd make this video. So this is going to be about, well, obviously the interest rates going up and the dollar and asset prices as a whole. So let's start off with obviously the news of interest rates going up. And if you saw the news or listened to Powell's speech, it's very clear that they're going to continue to raise, for the rest of this year. And what they're really looking at is still to try to cap inflation. Now, I don't know, man. I feel like what percentage are they going to be satisfied? Is it going to be 3% again, or get inflation under 3%, or or do we think that if they could get inflation under 5, everything will be fine, and they'll say, hey, this is the new normal we'll keep. You know, my opinion has been steadfast on this, and I don't know if it's like a lot of other people have the same opinion, but there's no doubt that the Fed has been politicized, and basically, from the '80s, from Carter to Reagan and all that crap, you saw, the Fed always be independent, and they really did just handle, whatever the economy needed. Um, and a lot of things were different back then, guys. Like, our national debt was only 3 trillion. I say only because it's like 10 times that now, and $3 trillion even back then was a lot of money. But when they raised rates to like 18%, um, they were able to drop those rates right back down 6 months later, to like 9, 8%. And we were able to recover. And today, with $30 trillion in debt, and the United States as a whole having its currency attacked, I don't know if we're in a position to go that high. I do see what I see in the inevitable future really is a lot more of what's been going on with Japan, and a lot more that what's been going on with Europe. And basically, it's we have pitched ourselves in a corner where we cannot really have anything real. Everything's going to continuously be artificial. It's going to be move here, move here, move there. Uh, and what I mean by that is, like, Japan in the 30s, the population declined, the growth of economy didn't happen, so they had to artificially stimulate it by low interest rates. It's been 30 years. They continue to have low interest rates. So there's going to be this chance, this window that we have to maybe pick some assets off, around 10 to 20% of a discount that goes for single, family homes all the way up to multifamily. And if you're lucky enough to be able to get something at that time, that will probably be the last time that rates will go this high again, and you'll be able to get things at a discount. It'll be steady growth, and it probably will be at 5%. And then the game is going to turn into whoever has those assets and holds those assets is going to continue to flourish, and the middle class is going to continue to diminish if you don't have assets, and the poor are just going to stay poor. And that's just like, the unfortunate, reality of things. And because the truth is, man, is like, you can't just snap your fingers and make one or two policy decisions and bottle up inflation. This thing has been brewing, with quantitative easing and all that since the great, recession, right? It usually takes anywhere from a half decade to a decade to really be able to control inflation and get things back to normal. And on top of that, you had the whole supply chain disruption, of the pandemic. You already had a really not so great economy before, that was running on low debt. It's like a junkie, just keep getting high, keep getting high. Eventually, you take away that drug, and the body just goes into a little bit of a shock. It's like, oh shit, what's going on? Like, oh, you wake up and you're like, oh man, a lot of shit didn't make sense. And a lot of the deals that have been done, on the corporate level, the small business level, the real estate levels, a lot of those deals don't make sense on paper now when you factor in 5, 6, 7% interest. It made sense when it factors in 3% interest. And those are just some realities we're going to have to deal with. Now, the thing is, the people that bought, 5, 6 years ago, they're coming up for refinance. The one benefit they did have is we did also see exponential growth in rents at that time. So maybe, you bought, with 3% interest, and rent has gone up 30, 40%. Now you could justify that property at 6%, maybe. And that's the other problem. If you're looking at real estate today, I don't see rent continuously growing like it's growing in the last like 2 years. Rent's probably going to stagnate, or it's actually going to decline a little bit, because at the end of the day, you could only charge what a consumer can bear in rent. And the way I looked at it always is like, there's always patterns, to the world, and we always try to identify those patterns. And the pattern that I've seen for the fundamental basis of rent has really been an 80-hour work week times whatever the minimum wage is. So that's 2 weeks of work before tax, before anything taken out. And that's kind of like been my personal determination of what rent should be. And then you could build your whole model, off of what you think you should pay for the property based on that. And by the way, free course for the real estate analysis course. You could literally download that on johawcapital.com, learn how to build the Excel sheet, plug the numbers in, and do your own evaluations. But really, the only way I see rents going up from here is if wages go up. Now, we did have McDonald's in California, or not just McDonald's in California, but California come forward for the fast food workers, trying to raise it to 22. We do have Starbucks trying to unionize. We do have other attempts across the nation. We just had the railroad strikes. I know UPS's contracts coming up. So now we're also going to have to see pressure on those wages because, dog, if you've had, 8% inflation for the last, 2 years, and you're continuing to have 5% inflation, you can't just give somebody a 3% raise or a 5% raise. Like, they're always going to be behind the curve. That's just like basic 101 common sense. And the real dirty reality of this is everybody just like beating around the bush and no one's really talking about it is, guys, let's be fucking real for a second, man. There's no goddamn way inflation is only 8%. You know it. I know it. Everything that we're buying, everything that we're, consuming, it is at least up at the minimum 15%, if not 20%. I mean, across the board, right? And this is where it gets counterproductive, is those wages are going to have to come up to meet that demand. But at the same time, as these interest rates go up, it's going to force things to come back down. So there is going to be, once again, an equilibrium. I don't see, wages going from, let's say they're at $15 an hour right now, in the next, 3 years going to $30 an hour. That's just not going to happen. What's going to happen is everything's going to have to come back to reality. So you're going to see wages go from like 15 to 20, maybe 23, 24 an hour, depending on how long you've been at a place or whatever. That's for the minimum wage side. It has to be at $20 an hour, for states like California. For states where if your minimum wage was, $10 an hour, your minimum wage is going to have to be $15 an hour. That's just the way it's going to have to go. And as those rates climb and things come back down, then wages will be able to afford that. Then we'll have this level off period before we see the next bump and the next pump. And that's when you want to start getting into equities, is probably by the end of this year. The best opportunity in equities is going to be, January through March, that time frame. And it's also probably going to be the best time to pick up some real estate and pick almost anything up. Anytime next year, you're going to do fine. I think that's my thesis. That's my belief. I don't know what you guys think. You guys do your own homework on it, right? But, once that levels off, then you'll see things, start picking back up. And really, it's going to be unfortunate because the Fed's job shouldn't be done at 4 or 4.5% Fed's rate. It should be closer to 6-7% Fed's rate. You usually want to bring the Fed's rate up to whatever the rate of inflation is to really bring it back down, but we can't do that. Our government can't afford that. And politically speaking, nobody wants to be in charge of that. So what's going to happen is they'll raise it to 4.5, and then the presidential cycle is going to come, and the Biden administration is going to look down and be like, hey, cut that shit down. We get people borrowing again, and you get some things going again, and I can boast about how the economy is coming back. Keep me elected, I'll do great. After that election, we don't know. We don't know. I can't sit here and tell you I know exactly. If I knew, goddamn, dog, I'd be a multi-billionaire, bro. I'd be fucking placing bets all day. Just, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So it's a lie to say but you want to make the best intelligent bet you could make. And so far, my bet is that's exactly what's going to happen. Is we're going to go to 4.5, and it's going to get politicized, and we're going to have to dump back down. And what I mean by go back down is I think the Fed rate will probably stay between 3.5%. I don't see it going below 3%. I just don't. Um, that's just the reality is that we should see the funds rate at 7-8% to really bring inflation down. But like I said, I don't see that happening. And to wrap this up, I'll explain how the Fed rates work. So I explained this in my Discord. So basically, the Federal Reserve sets their funds rate, and the banks you go deposit money in the bank. The banks have fractional reserves, right? So they can lend out money. So for every $100 you give them, they can lend out $900. Yeah, but they have to keep that $100 or whatever in the bank. But also, when they give a loan out, there's a risk because not everybody pays their loans off or even makes all the payments. Surprise! And in an environment where the economy is slowing, the probability of you paying your loan that kind of decreases, right? So it's more risk for the bank. So the bank's going to look around and say, hey, we have all this extra cash in our bank. And the Federal Reserve is willing to pay us 4%. We're going to take our cash, we're going to park it there. And so if you want to borrow the money, we need to make way more than that 4% because we also got to account for the risk of loans failing that we lend. So the rate, you're probably going to be paying 8-9% on homes and probably 10-11% on commercial. It can be that high. And that's at a 4% funds rate. If you raise the funds rate to freaking 8%, you're probably talking about 14-15% for businesses and 12-13% for homes. So I don't see it getting that high though. I really don't. I don't think we could afford that. We're just not in that environment. But that's what the funds rate is it's the rate that banks could park their money overnight, and you would have to entice them to get them to lend you money, because if they're making 4% free and clear, 110% guaranteed from the Fed, why would they take a risk on you? You know what I mean? They don't know you. They don't know what you're about. They don't know what you could pay. They don't even know what's going to happen to you in your life. You could die. The project you're working on could go away. The idiot that's next to you, that you're, the next person that's going to buy it and take that shit over, who knows if they can lend it? Who knows if they can make the payment? They know parking at the Fed they can. That's why lending starts tightening. When lending starts tightening, businesses stop borrowing to expand, less jobs, less everything, the economy starts slowing. It's a natural-led recession. There's no way around it. And it stays that way until we have a period of stability, right? And then we have a little bit of a cut. And then when you pencil out your goddamn numbers, it needs to make sense. At the end of the day, dog, you got to eat. You got to freaking eat. If I'm putting up, $500,000 on a real estate deal, dog, I'm not about to do that deal. If I'm looking at my projections, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not even making money for the first 3 years. Why the fuck would I do that deal? But I had a call coming in. Thank God the video didn't stop. Like, why would I do that deal if I'm not making a return from day one on the capital I'm putting up? I might as well just let it sit in the bank and it collect whatever it could collect. You could talk about all the BS you want about inflation eats the dollar. At the end of the day, dog, money's still money, bro. You still need that to buy stuff, to do stuff, right? So, we're going to see how things go. At this point, all you could do is really hold on until the end of the year, right? And we'll have to reevaluate. And, we're going to have to watch, which way the market moves. Of course, you'll see me post crap all the time about it. And we just got to be patient. And just remember, with real estate lags behind the economy. Stocks and everything, boom, take a nosedive. Real estate's going to be 3 to 6 months out. So the shit that's coming out today, you're talking about, October, November, December, January, February. Oh, like I predicted, March, you're going to start seeing deals hit the market. So anyways, hey, if you liked the video, you found it informative, shoot me a follow, share this crap. Follow my backup account, which is, at the family investor _ again in there. It's in the link, so if I get banned. And of course, bro, join the Discord, support me. That's the best way you can support me. Put a little bread in my pocket for doing this, you know what I mean? And plus you get to jump in on a bunch of great conversations with smart people, and you get to see what we're talking about. So hope to see you guys there, and thank you guys for the support. See you on the next one.